I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing our class graduation speaker. Being selected by your fellow classmates to deliver the graduation speech is an honor that one will never forget. And it's a real distinct pleasure for me to introduce this year's worthy recipient and class speaker, Craig Plikus.
Thank you, Omar. It's great. Okay, everybody.
$485,500 minutes, 485,000 moments so dear, 485,500 minutes. How do you measure an IMD year?
In nights at the White Horse, in cups of Big Nami coffee, new countries and trips with very long flights.
In 485,500 minutes, how do you measure a year and a life? In PDE sessions and the times that we cried, and the nights in the dungeons for our integrative exercise. Time now to sing out as our journey ends, to remember and celebrate our US friends. 485,500 minutes, 485,000 moments so dear.
$485,500 minutes. That is the time that has passed since we all sat down here in M100 for the first time. And my goodness, what a journey it has been. I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out what's the best way to adequately describe this amazing experience we've had. But how do you even begin to measure it? Is it the number of classes that we sat through together in Kasani and L'Orange? Is it the number of hours that we spent together in our different module groups? Maybe it's the number of WhatsApp groups that we needed to organize ourselves. Maybe it's the number of sips of tea and coffee that we had at Big Nami. For some of us, it's the time that we spent together at the White Horse. For others, it's the time we spent together working on cases in the dungeons. It could even be the different countries that we've been to this year. Or perhaps, maybe just perhaps, we can measure our year as the distance between the first day when we sat here as complete strangers and today as we sit here as lifelong friends. Now, before I get all sentimental about how phenomenal this year has been, we need to talk about something very, very serious. So there have been whispers amongst us that this entire MBA program is just one massive social experiment. I mean, they took 104 people from 39 different nationalities and threw them into one tumultuous year together. That has social experiment written all over it. I've been trying to figure out where all the hidden cameras are installed, but they have been watching us. And they have been putting in every effort to push us to the edge of our breaking points. Just think about it. Let's go all the way back to the start of the year. First week of the program, we get thrown into leadership, entrepreneurship, finance, accounting, and economics? Come on. Luckily, we had a certain vertically challenged classmate who was very happy to give all of us private finance tutoring. But for economics, there was no such luck. It was just fast-paced knowledge coming at us. Nobody knew what was going on and bits of tralala all over the place. And then there was accounting. Let's just say that some of us are still trying to get our balance sheets to, well, actually balance. We knew back then it was going to be an extremely intense program. But then came this first dangling carrot to sort of lift our spirits. The mountain experience. Oh, what a beautiful time it was. We forgot all about the daily COVID tests and the painstaking agony of having to wait way too long just for a nurse to come and tell you that you're negative. But fortunately, we all made it to the Swiss Alps. We sipped drinks together as we watched the sun set over the snowy mountains. We shuffled through the snow as the icy ground crunched beneath our feet. And we felt the iron bonds of friendship starting to forge. And now I need to go back to my notes because I forgot where I am. You know, I'm also very happy to report that I got really good intel that every single person that was dancing on tables up in the mountains will be obliged to repeat those shenanigans tonight at the gala dinner. And you all know exactly who you are, staff included. Okay, I must apologize. I have deviated here quite a bit. We're still speaking about this social experiment. You see, we survived the first month of the MBA. And then February hit us with a bang. Leadership Experiential Week. They found the perfect recipe for constructive chaos. Take some MBA students who think they know it all, throw them into a bunch of impossible situations with a coach poking them the entire time, and then let them try and figure out how to build each other up through the process of tearing each other apart. You know, we were challenged that day to recognize our greatest strengths, but to come face to face with our deepest weaknesses. And we did it together. We got through it together. We left that muddy monastery that day emotionally and physically bruised. And what's the first thing that awaited us on the Monday back? An introduction to PDE. So, for those of you who do not know, PDE is our personal development elective. It's essentially 1,000 minutes with a psychoanalyst, call it a therapist. So to put this into perspective, we get thrown onto this emotional and physical roller coaster. We barely stumble off, and then we get welcomed back with, hey, here's a list of therapists if you'd like to try. Let's call it a coincidence. Let's call it a coincidence. We get back into this crazy MBA ritual or schedule, whatever you want to call it. We've got all-day classes, we've got the startup project, multiple group assignments. We're spending the mornings and the late nights in the dungeons, but we're managing pretty well. But that does not last long, because every single MBA staff member has been trained to pick up the scent of happy and refreshed students. So our February started with a bang and ended with another integrative exercise. Now, we all know there's a lot of debate on how to crack the case and survive those 48 hours of madness. Some of us took the structured approach, said, guys, let's have strict time frames. We'll work till 11 p.m., we go home and get some rest. Well, some of us took the more creative approach of screaming at each other and crying until the answers miraculously fall from the heavens at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nonetheless, we all made it through. We all made it through. And we did it together. We did it together. You know, the MBA office was even gracious enough to give us a few hours of rest directly after that experience, just to rest and recover and to prepare for 3 exams the next day. Now, do you think it's a coincidence that the recommended start date for PDE was immediately after those exams? I think they sent us a pretty clear message that went something like this. We know we deprived you of sleep, and we almost broke you with those insane exams. We think now might be a good time to go speak to your therapist. Guys, this was a social experiment. I hope you can see this. This was a highly calibrated social experience. This was an intricately planned journey that has been designed and refined to ensure that each one of us grows beyond our greatest expectations. We've had world-class professors who did not just teach us, but who challenged us to question the world around us and to experience it in deeper, more enriching ways. And it's been Nobel Prize winning stuff. Beyond the classroom, we are now master innovators ready to revolutionize the startup world. We are digital gurus who can develop any automated pricing tool, and we are international consultants that can solve any company's problem in structured PowerPoint format, of course. We went all the way to not quite Paris and absolutely conquered the MBAT. From CrossFit to cross-country, poker to petanque, dodgeball to dance, table tennis to trivia, basketball to the band. I still get goosebumps every single time I think about how in such a short period, we went from being complete strangers to the synergistic community chanting, IMD, IMD. That's the one. That's the one. You know, we've all seen what happens when people come together from all walks of life and lift each other up through the good times and the bad. There have been a multitude of personal triumphs and milestones, and there have been tribulations and heartache, but we found love and support in one another. We celebrated each other's cultures, and we cheered for each other into those late karaoke nights. We went to different corners of the world, from Buenos Aires to Dubai, from San Francisco to Singapore. We became pilots in flight simulators, and we brushed shoulders with some of the biggest founders in the world. The list of things that we have experienced and achieved go on and on and on. This has been an absolutely phenomenal year, and I think it's only fair that we take a moment to thank the president of IMD, thank our fearless dean, thank our inspirational professors, thank the absolutely amazing MBA office, thank every single IMD and non-IMD staff member that went out of their way to make this year possible, and to all our loved ones who are here and the ones that cannot be here, who supported us every step of the way on this journey. Let's take a moment to give them a warm round of applause. Steve Jobs said that if you're working on something you really care about, you don't need to be pushed. The vision pulls you. And I have the deepest respect and admiration for every single member of the class of 2022, because each of us dared to see a bigger vision for our lives, but we were also brave enough to allow that vision to pull us into this life-changing year at IMD. It is your commitment and it is your devotion that have allowed you to transform into the stronger and more able versions of yourselves that sit here today. Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." And today we get to say, we did it. Today we celebrate our success at the end of this phenomenal journey. And is it the end of the road? Well, it depends. It depends. Because as we close this chapter, and we turn the page, we are empowered to write the story of our lives on our own terms, with courage and conviction. And the best part is, we don't need to write those chapters alone, because we may be done with our MBAs, but we are most certainly not done with each other. That is for sure. 485,500 minutes later, and I still do not know how to adequately measure what we have experienced, because you simply cannot measure it. We will carry everything that we've learned and developed inside of us. It will grow and it will be with us for a lifetime. I know that this year means different things to each of us, but I also know that each of us are leaving this year changed and transformed in our own unique ways. My biggest wish is that we will take the time to acknowledge and to honor that transformation, and to be brave enough to let that transformation radiate in the world around us, irrespective of where we go in life. To the class of 2022, my brothers and sisters, it has been the deepest honor and it has been the greatest privilege, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you.
Craig, what more can I say? It's, but I'd say, first of all, I'd like to say it's one of the proudest moments of a professor when the student becomes the teacher. And Craig, congratulations, that was amazing.